there's been some changes in my life, so I have to make changes in the way that I move throughout the day, the way that I make videos, create content, try to get my writing in and all of that. So I just had a baby back in February, the end of February. So I'm a new mom now, which that's crazy. I mean, I'm kind of getting used to it now, but it's definitely a big change in life. I'm back in therapy, you know. Obviously, I've been in therapy before, so I said I'm back in therapy. But this time it's more so just to keep things, I guess, at a even level, I guess. Not too much postpartum depression and things like that, which luckily I haven't really experienced much of yet, but that's probably because I'm back in therapy. And my doctors, they wanted me to get back in therapy, you know, just to kind of help with that a bit. And they also tried to offer me medication to help keep everything, you know, level. And I'm like, no, I don't want a medication. I'm not doing that. I'll go back to therapy, but we're not doing the medication. I've tried medication before in the past, years ago, like early in my 20s, and I didn't stay on them for long. I was like, this is not for me. I can figure out how to help myself. So really, I feel like I can be my own therapist, in all honesty, because I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say this because some people, they may really need therapy, counseling and all of that. But I feel like for me personally, I guess throughout the years and everything, just learning more about myself, you know, watching certain videos, watching Dolo the Pilot Man and seeing his take on things, you know, getting into astrology and all that, which may sound crazy to some people, but hey, it's my life and it works for me. So it can maybe work for you too if you give it a try, if you haven't. But you know, that's not what this video is about, and I'm not here to convince anybody to get into certain things. I feel like there's certain steps that I took on my own and certain things that I tried out on my own, aside from like medication and things, that kind of helped me be my own therapist in a sense. So I'm able to kind of dig deeper on certain things on my own. I'm able to kind of delve into certain things of my past and, you know, figure out what the root cause of certain things are. But then there are some times where a therapist does come in hand and they can help you kind of dig in a more productive way, I guess. It may not be the right word. I can't think of it right now, but you know, sometimes it's good to have an extra helping hand. Therapy is not the answer and the solution to all your life problems, but it can help if used in the right way. And I'm not here to get into what the right way is. That's up to you to find out what the right way is for you. If you're going to get into therapy, you also have to find the right therapist for you. And I feel like with this new therapist that I have, it is the right one for me, because in the past, you know, I've had several different therapists, and I just feel like I didn't really gain anything from the sessions, anything valuable. It just seemed like we was just kind of on video. I'm just talking to a person like on FaceTime or something, and they're just looking at me, listening to me talk, ask a question, listen to me answer, and then that would be it. They may try to give some type of solution or anything, something like that, but it just didn't work out. This therapist that I have now, it's like we can kind of get into things that better suit my interests and my needs. So I feel like that'll be more beneficial to me. It's an art therapist, so I've never actually tried art therapy before. So I thought it would be nice to give that a try and see how that goes, because you know, I like to be creative. Like I said, I can really be my own therapist, because there's been times where I've tried to, you know, draw out my feelings and things like that and kind of interpret what I drew. I would kind of write journaling sessions from those drawings and things like that. And art therapy is so much more than that. It's not just, you know, you're gonna color and interpret what you drew or colored. It's a lot more to it than that. And I'm just now starting these sessions with her. So far I think I've only had like 2 or 3 sessions. So it's still pretty new. We haven't really gotten into all the art part of it or anything. It's just kind of been basically like an introduction type of thing, kind of learning where I'm at, where I want to be, what I want to gain from the session. I also really like this therapist because, you know, she's pretty spiritual as well. She says she's more spiritual than religious. She even gets into like oracle card readings and things like that. She said she even does some of those sometimes in her sessions if she feels called to. Like if she's talking during a session and she just feels really called to do a reading, she'll ask her client if she can do that reading, and, you know, they'll go from there. So she said maybe that'll come up sometimes. And I'm like, you know, I have oracle cards and things like that too, which I haven't picked them up in a while. But I don't know, maybe this will, you know, push me to want to get back into my oracle cards. And she's also not as into astrology as I am per se, but she is into astrology. So she's in that whole realm of things. She's an Aquarius, and so that's also kind of fitting as well, being that she's a bit different from the other therapists that I've had, and that she's more, you know, open to other things and to spiritual things and oracle cards and things like that. I don't know. I just really feel like this one is gonna work out. And like I said, it's not the answer and solution to all your problems. And really, I'm not experiencing a lot of problems and everything right now, but just to keep things level with the new changes that I'm going through in life. In our second session, the topic we focused on was values, which is very fitting. And now that I think of it, as like the second session, second house, Taurus season, so it's very fitting in that way if you want to use astrology. And I was actually already kind of thinking about values and things like that before our session, so it was kind of interesting how that all kind of synchronized up. Once we got into session and she brought it up, I was like, hey, I was just, you know, thinking about this. We got into values, and I told her kind of my thoughts, how I was kind of thinking about values before we got into session. So for me, it was kind of me thinking about how I haven't been really consistent with my values, I guess you can say, which kind of had me thinking, like, are these really my values if I'm not consistent with them, if I'm not really showing the importance of them by really, like, I don't know, like I guess if creativity is a value for me, I haven't really been creating it as much. So is that really a value? So that's kind of how my thought process was going on certain things, because, or even like speaking up and taking up for myself, I feel like that's a value I have, because there's been a lot of times where I have not spoken up for myself, and I've spoken about that on the channel in previous videos, and kind of the situations and outcomes that had and the impact that had in my life. So it kind of was very important to me to start speaking up for myself. And then sometimes I would do it, sometimes I wouldn't. It was like I would do it for a little bit and then I would fall away from it again. And that's a lot of my values. It really had me questioning, like, are these real values to me, that I just create these values out of thin air just because it's something I really like doing, or it's something that I feel is really important to me. And, you know, I came to the conclusion that, yeah, it can still be my values, but maybe I'm just not valuing myself, and I'm not valuing my values enough. So when I spoke to her, we kind of talked about maybe things in the past that's happened in my life that could maybe influence how I'm not being consistent with my values now. We spoke about childhood. So if certain things happened in your childhood, that kind of can impact how you are in your adult life, and that can kind of make your values, make you not very consistent with your values. So if you value alone time, then you kind of have to ask yourself, well, why is it that you value that alone time? Is it because you didn't have much of it growing up, or because you feel like you was forced to be alone while you was growing up because of certain things happening? If you value being able to speak a certain way, or not, the lack thereof speaking, to avoid certain conflicts and stuff, is that because growing up there was a lot of conflict in the house and it was kind of damaging to you in a way, or there was a lot of conflict inflicted upon you? So in your adult life, it's like you try to avoid all of that. Or it could be the opposite, where your value is to kind of fight back on certain things and speak up and just argue and things like this. This therapist, she gives therapy homework for the week, which that was new to me too. So I guess I'm in some type of therapy school or something. I don't know. But there's the worksheet that I haven't done yet, and it's been a week. I have my next session tomorrow, so I need to do that today. And that's another thing. I just always push things off to the side to the last minute. That's another topic, but it kind of fits as well with me not being consistent with certain things. I'll kind of wait till the last minute to do certain things that I claim are important to me and that I claim is a value to me. But my son, that's a value to me too. Like, I value family time. I value my son. I value being the best mom that I can be to my son, and I don't push that off to the side. It's like that kind of got brought to the top above everything else, above creativity, above just everything else that is important to me. Besides like speaking up and stuff, I feel like having my son is going to help me be more outspoken in certain situations, because I'm not going to let anybody hurt my son, obviously, and I'm not gonna let anybody hurt me that will affect my son's life. So it's like I just feel like having him will kind of change a lot of those certain things that I had trouble with before. I'm really trying to do this without, I didn't take many notes. Like, I used to take notes in the past so I could kind of speak a little better in my videos and kind of be on topic and things like that. So this time I'm trying things out a little different by not looking at notes and things. So if it comes off a little scattered, that's why, but that's okay. So we have this worksheet that she gave me that we're going to discuss tomorrow. I have to make sure I fill that out today. I'll put the worksheet up on the screen now and see what I'm kind of talking about. I'm not going to get into the worksheet on video because I don't want this video to be too long. And so you can see the worksheet has 50 different values or whatever that they said, circle which ones fit you most and then narrow it down to the 10 most important ones. Some of the values on this list I feel like kind of tie into each other, or they're the same ones just worded differently. So whatever. I feel like this worksheet can be edited and improved on, but it's not to get into that. You go into filling out the ones that are the top 10 that you feel are most important out of all the ones that you highlighted. And then it says, what are your core values? How does your values drive your actions? Reflect on the meaning of each of the 10 values you chose and ask yourself if they are congruent with the choices you make and the actions you take on a daily basis. If so, great, keep it up. If not, look at how you may create a life or a greater integrity and happiness. Once you get down to the part that you're supposed to fill out, it says, do these values guide your words and actions? How do you feel when you make choices in line with your identified values versus times when you don't? And what changes can you make in your life so that your choices and actions are more consistently in line with your values? So getting into the second question, how do you feel when you make choices in line with your identified values versus times when you don't? So with that one, I can talk about the one about kind of like speaking up and taking up for myself, since I've spoken about that in past videos, like the one where I was talking about getting fired because I finally spoke up for myself. So at first, when I was kind of holding everything in, that was it wasn't very good to me, mentally, physically, emotionally, just holding everything in, letting it all build up. It was like I was sparing other people's feelings, but in return I was tarnishing myself. So once I finally did speak up, I felt great. I did. I mean, of course I lost my job, and that it was kind of like a trickle effect of certain things happening after that, losing your job, especially when you have your own home that you need, or your apartment or something that basically, if you have bills and you lose your job, of course that's going to be an issue that you have to take care of. A short time after that, I found out I was pregnant. So it was a lot of things that, like a domino effect of it. But I still felt good about that initial thing, me speaking up. So, I feel good. I feel a sense of like empowerment, like, yeah, I did that, I needed to do that, and it felt like a sense of release. And then versus when you're holding it in, or when I'm holding it in, I just feel like there's a heavy weight on me of a bunch of negativity, a bunch of negative thoughts, a bunch of negative feelings, just everything kind of heavy. And it made me less excited about going to work. Because look, I know most jobs you're not excited about, but this job I actually did kind of like. You know, I like the people that work there. I had family that worked there as well, so it was a nice job, and I can say it was like the best paying job that I've had so far. But I can't get too focused on that. But it was a really nice job, and I just started to feel less and less excited to go, and the job wasn't valuable to me at that point, with me holding everything in. So just being able to release that, it felt great. I'm gonna do this worksheet, and I'm not gonna don't keep any hopes up. I won't keep them up for myself, to make a follow-up video after the session. Once I filled everything out and how that session goes, I may come back and do that follow-up video.